with Dr. Lesia, the preacher. Okay. Well, guys, I'll go first. It's Wednesday, confession day. Confession day. A day where we can just admit as best we can where we stand. Admit what we've done, what others have done, how we truly feel. You know, we must release what we view as negative energy. Don't leave negative energy stored in your body. Get it out. Just like we love to express our positive side, we can't wait to share our positive side with people. You know, that's a good thing. Well, what about all that negative stuff in you? They got to come out too. But you have to find the right place, okay? The right place to use it so it can be coupled up the right way to create positive. Leaving negative energy stagnant, that's where a lot of what people call toxicity come from. Negative behavior, negative thinking, all that stuff. But when you manage it and work it and understand it, allow Most High, to grow you and develop you, then He takes, your negative energy and He can make it work for your good, make it positive. So I'm thankful that Pastor Newbie, rest in peace, he was my pastor years ago for about 9 years or so until he passed away. And on my healing journey in the spirit realm, he has visited me and he has reminded me things that I forgot about. And the reason why his energy is here on my team, because he wants me to be free and at liberty to move on and let go of the stored negativity in my body from the marriage that I experienced while he was my pastor. The first thing he did to help free me, and it's a process, y'all. It's not like it's just, like snap your fingers gone, you know. But um, what it's doing is it's helping me realize that my ex-husband, the second one, the most recent divorce, he did not have permission to marry me. I completely forgot because I was not a part of the conversation. I was not a part of the decision making. I was just being told this information. You know, it was kind of like closer to the wedding, really, when I started finding out, that what all the hoops he had to jump through to make a wedding even exist for us to even have one, you know. And the number one thing was his own pastor, which I hadn't met yet, his own pastor didn't approve. Okay. Now, with that being said, my pastor didn't approve either. My pastor. We were viewed as unequally yoked in the spirit realm. Um, from my pastor's end, we were considered unequally yoked. And then on my ex's pastor's end, the fact that I was a divorced woman at all. I was a divorced woman at all. So he did not have permission to marry me. So that's how we entered the marriage. So that's where Pastor Newby comes in to show me that the marriage was never honored in the first place. So now I see clearly if the marriage wasn't approved nor honored in the first place the way, it should have been per se, then that's why it could not have been honorable at all. It was wrong from the beginning. So all that suffering that we did is because we entered wrong. If you enter wrong, you're going to experience wrong and it's going to end wrong. It was just all wrong. Even on our best day of being on family vacations and, adopting kids and raising kids and, sending them to school, we did all the work that family do, but it was all wrong. And that's why it was so filled with pain and struggle and sacrifice. And it was just a hard 25 years. Now, even before that, though, even before that, I was married. I was married and I divorced my first husband. I'm the one that physically walked out the door and divorced. And the people in the world, in my life, family and friends and stuff, would say, yeah, you had every right to leave. And I was surprised that our pastor at the time, I was extremely surprised that he even honored it. At that church, women did not get divorced at that church. We were expected to suffer through any damn thing with our husbands, you know. It don't matter, that's your husband, kind of thing. So, Most High, when he leads me back to that situation, I realized that not only may I have been in error, but our pastor, our overseer, he was in error. Now, of course, my ex was in error, okay? The husband, the man. I'm not trying to let husbands off the hook. I'm not. Okay, I'm not. But I'm the one that filed, so I must be the one to explain. So the pastor who approved my divorce the first time, because I would not have gotten it without his approval, I was that disciplined and obedient. I knew going into that meeting that if that man said no, I was going to stay married. Because I'm going in not knowing, do I go, do I stay? Do I go, do I stay? And I'm being led, you know. My husband and I, obviously, we can't agree. So that's why it don't make sense to discuss him because we were not in agreement. I needed him home with me and the kids, you know, until I felt strong enough as a woman. I needed him home with us. It was enough that we had a new business starting, you know, but all those women he was running around with, bringing women to the house and stuff, it was just too much. It was too heavy. And then I was working a full-time job providing the medical insurance because when you start a new business, you don't have benefits. So I had to use my college education to bring benefits to the family, you know, so I can have insurance to have babies, his babies, you know what I'm saying? But it was just so hard. All I needed was like 2, 3 years where he would just be home, focused on me and the kids, the business, I just needed some relief. And I knew I couldn't control a man's dick or control a man's mind. I know that. If they're going to run around, they're going to run around. I get that part. But when I, as a woman, I just needed some time where he was at home with us and acted like he cared, you know? But again, I didn't have anyone in my life to coach me through a vulnerable time. I grew up with independent mindset people, you know, and men are low down dogs, snake in the grass, and all this kind of stuff. I always heard that stuff. But here I am, and then I'm at the church, and most women in the church did not have college education, only like maybe two or three. And then everybody else were, probably high school graduates, but they had been married a while, got a bunch of kids, and their husbands doing the same thing. So it just did not look impressive. I mean, like the women at church could not encourage me. They could not encourage me. It was affordable, worth being ran on the whole marriage while you stuck at home with a bunch of kids, just coming to church, praising the Lord. You know what I mean? It was just hard to convince me that that was going to be my life. You know what I mean? But so this pastor, he let me get divorced, and I was shocked, and I just ran with it, ran with it. But I just ran right into a karmic marriage. I ran right into, you know, getting my ass beat by somebody else. That's all. So, either you're gonna go through it with your kid's father or you're gonna be just going through or whoever, and that's been my experience. So I have to confess, I have to confess, I have to explain what I believe at this point anyway happened. And so I'm not saying that I'm the kind of woman that want to be married to a man that's just running around. No, no one does. No one does. But so many men do it. How many times do we get divorced because somebody's cheating? How many breakups do we have because somebody's cheating? You know, until we women decide to close our legs completely, we're just dealing with one cheating man after another, after another, after another. Where are the boundaries? Where are the boundaries? When do we say, okay, I got one of these men and just ride this horse until, death do us part? Because if you get off that horse and get on the next horse, I mean, he's likely to do the same thing, even if you never find out. Even if you never find out, put your blinders on, you know, kind of like I did the second time until he just wouldn't hide it no more. He almost just threw it in my face. You know what I'm saying? So it gets to a point where they want to throw it in your face. They get all these women, they just want you to know. It's almost like bragging. You're such a stay-at-home doormat of a wife. I got all these other women out here. You just, you know what I mean? The depreciation stage. When you drive off the lot with a brand new car, they say the moment drive off, it depreciates. So, the depreciation stage is horrible in a marriage. It is for the wife because you start off together, thinking you're on the same level. And then while you're at home with the kids and he's making all this money and attracting more and more women, you know, there's this huge disconnect. And if the two of you don't know how to bridge that gap, you're just gonna fall off with the kids and he's just gonna run off with a bunch of women all the time. I mean, nothing new to him. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, to be honest, guys. I cannot tell you the solution to these marital problems, these family issues, other than, everybody should be focused on Most High, being obedient. But most people are not obedient often enough, long enough, or whatever. And we don't have enough boundaries or enough help or structure out here for what naturally occurs. when people are disobedient, which is the majority of the time. So that's why I kind of have my channel to break down and explain my journey, whether right or wrong. I'm not even here about all that, right or wrong. That's for your discernment, your discernment. So, I thank the Lord for shedding light, taking me back. I mean, I was in my 20s when all this was going on. I'm 55. All this stuff was happening in my 20s, a young woman. So I thank God for showing me where, you know, I may have been wrong in the first marriage. Not saying that he wasn't wrong. I'm not, trying to excuse nobody. Where the pastor may have been wrong, and where the pastor may have been like wrong on so many levels. While he's advising me to divorce my husband that was cheating on me in most disgusting ways, come on now. I think the cheating got close to the church where the pastor, it was just obvious. You know what I mean? So, but bottom line, he himself had a wife in that church and multiple women. He had women set up in houses around the church. He had like property around the house. I mean, around the church, like maybe about 3 or 4 houses set up around the church. And his other women were in these houses. Yeah, he and his wife had the best house across town, but right around the church in the hood, he had houses and he had other women set up in these houses. And one of the women, which I didn't know at the time, I didn't know he had this lifestyle until after my husband and I divorced and years later. And so when I found out years later that this happened and I'm in my second marriage suffering to no end, I'm like, wait, I felt a little misled. I did. I felt misled by my pastor at the time. How you gonna advise me to get divorced or approve it when you sitting up here living the life my husband living, but you're doing it in a more biblical way? At least you taking care. Teach my husband what you doing. Why can't you teach my husband what you're doing? Because I see you building wealth. It ain't like his wife didn't know this shit. There's no way she couldn't know. You know what I'm saying? The church right there and all these women that, the ushers and all these people at the church, they set up in houses around the church. Come on now. I was slow. I was slow. I didn't know. I didn't know this kind of stuff happened. Just on TV and movies and stuff. But wow, when it's like in your face, it was in my face and I couldn't even see it. This one of the women was babysitting my kids while I was at work. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, that was deep. That was deep. And in fact, she was the woman that I called in the middle of the night when my husband came home with a hickey on his neck. I called her. I was already up in the spirit praying and stuff. When he walked in, I had already been praying. And when he walked in, I see this hickey on his neck. I just give him a hug. I just hugged him, looked at the hickey, pointed it out. I just hugged him. It was either be fighting or hugging because I'm at home with kids and you out here getting hickeys in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? I'm up here with kids, breastfeeding and shit. Breastfeeding your kids while you out getting hickeys. I either was going to kill that man that night, but I had been up praying. And so the Lord had dealt with me, prepared me for that moment. And so, but I still feel like a fool. I feel like a fool. I can't kill the man. He's just being him. You know what I'm saying? He just being him. He just his happy self. And so I let him go. He probably went in the basement somewhere in the house, passed out. He was probably high, whatever. Hickeys and high, worked all day. He worked his ass off, no doubt about that, 10-hour days, but he just wouldn't come home. He wanted to go lay up and party and then, roll in and pass out somewhere and do it again. All right. So, but yeah, we go to church on Sunday. But so, you know, he goes off. I'm prepared. I just hug him instead of kill him. And and I go call the sister. It's 4 in the morning. I called his sister. She said, I was waiting on you. I was like, huh? You wait? She says, like the Lord had me up praying. So she and I were both praying. And I call her because she's the kid's babysitter, and I just felt kind of close to her, you know. And she didn't know what all was going on. I hadn't really confided in too many people. I was embarrassed. I look crazy here. So she told me that that's how husbands are. And I have a choice to make. Either I can stay and live this way, but you can't fight and all that, you can't do that, or you're going to have to go because it's just going to get worse. And as you get older, the girls are going to get younger and younger. As you get older, they're going to get younger. This is what she told me. And she was the pastor's other woman in his home, one of his, setup houses. Now, I didn't know she was in this position at the time. I didn't know. But she was giving me some wisdom because she knew she was one of these women. And she knew that I was going to have this life forever. But what she didn't tell me was whether it's this husband or the next husband, you're going to have this life. Now, that's the part. So after her advice, which she probably was talking to the pastor, they in the background, him and his mistress, the pastor and his mistress was probably in the background talking about my situation. So by the time I come around to him, she already done probably told him, go on and let that girl out. Let her out the marriage. Because see, she was one of them single moms coming to the church with like 3 or 4 sons. Had been, well, I won't say single, solo. She was divorced woman. She had a bunch of sons. And the pastor, helped her out and she took the help. So I ain't mad at her, what I mean? But I just wish people would have told me the truth back then. I would have made different choices. I would have understood the power and stand with my own man than giving some new man all those benefits of faithfulness and loyalty and enduring all the cheating and lying and all that. You know what I mean? Because see, with the second man, it didn't yield anything. He got the benefit and then he turned around and left me. You know what I'm saying? So, whew, again, these are some wild ass confessions, but they're real. They happened in my life, and I'm living out all the consequences of my choices, you know. And yeah, everybody contribute to my demise. Everybody contribute to. But at the end of the day, I'm the one standing with the consequences of my choices. I'm the one standing with them. And I have to sort through the mess so that I won't make these same mistakes going forward. And I'm sharing my story so that other people may maybe avoid a mistake or two here and there. Some things you're just going to have to go through with your flashlight, Bible, and prayer. you know, it is what it is. But at least our testimonies help us overcome. Our testimonies, our confessions, our stories, our experiences, we are meant to speak and show fruit of the Spirit in our life. The endurance, the good and the bad. Don't be ashamed to tell people that you screwed up. Don't be ashamed to tell people, about other people, you know? So in a few hours, maybe around 9 or 10 or so, sometime this morning, I will open up for paid chats. The chat will have to be open for pay. Send money to my Cash App. Any amount, these are just donations, just helping my channel. Um, but I don't work, so I appreciate, donations because I am on here sharing. So this is a type of work. So if you want to bless my work, I appreciate it. But I will be opening up the chat later for confessions. I'll read some of the chats. These chats will be negative. These chats will be going off on people, cussing people out. You know, confession is not easy. Cussing people out, being mad, venting is not easy. And we live in a world where, no one, people are just criticized to no end for expressing their raw, authentic selves. We're discouraged from being who we really are. And everyone's expected to fit some type of robotic mold uh, of emotionless life. Just, you know, get it and quit it, and rob each other still, lie to each other to get to the altar and then, turn into some other person, say, you should have known better. I mean, like, how you gonna lie to my face and then as soon as we say I do, then it's like, you should have known better. I'm like, huh? So we just gotta do better than this, and I think it's gonna take people being able to vent without being criticized to no end because you just expressing a little negativity. What the heck? Why do we fear negativity so much? The Bible says, fear nothing, especially evil. Fear no evil. Talk about that shit. Talk about it. Bring it up. So later on, be ready, y'all. Come with your little dollar, $2, $5, $20. So last time we did it last week, I said for $25. If someone wants to hit up my Cash App for $25, I'll open up the chat for 30 long minutes and we'll go at it. I'll read the comments. We'll, you know, whatever you put is there. Some people call me ugly. You look like Dookie. You need to shut up. Whatever, just let it fly. If somebody pay for you to be that way, cool. I don't have a problem with it. All right, so I'll see you all in a few hours. That was my confession for the day. Okay, you all be blessed.